I've got you hooked now. You can't not watch the video after a fart joke of that magnitude. No. Nope, immediately bailing on that. Much like the rest of Super Earth's greatest heroes, I have been having an immensely enjoyable time playing Helldivers 2 after the affectionately named Buff Divers updates. The game has seen literally everything at this point. The highest of highs, the slightly less highs, and the lowest of lows. But despite Sony trying their best to ruin everything, the game devs at Arrowhead Studios have pulled off a feat only one studio has ever successfully pulled before. I'm talking about Hello Games' path from maybe the most disastrous launch in video game history, aside from Concord, that is, to one of the greatest space sims of all time. Arrowhead have genuinely taken some of the worst beatings in recent public relations history and somehow pulled through it to once again be recognized as the stellar game devs they are.
That's a 10.
It's alright, my child, I never lost faith in Super Earth. But despite the fact that Helldivers is in the best state it's ever been as of recording, there's still a lot of work to be done. Remember that it's taken Hello Games 8 years to get No Man's Sky where it is today, and Helldivers 2 has been out for less than 1. So, now that Halloween is over, it's Christmas time. Don't even try and convince me that there's another holiday in between, because you're wrong, and shut up. This is my letter to Super Santa, explaining all of the things I, as a 200-plus hour Helldiver, would like to see from Arrowhead over the next indeterminate amount of time. Keep in mind that this list is organized from the I need it's to the if there's any spare cash. Like all Christmas lists should be. Dear Democracy, why is there no bot tutorial? I cannot tell you how many times I've come across a level 50-ish player NANI? Who, bless their short-lived hearts, just do not understand how to fight the bots. And I think that given how different the strategies to successfully combating the automatons are compared to the Terminids, I'm genuinely surprised that they're never taught to the player in a tutorial-like setting. You just kind of figure it out eventually, but maybe not if nobody ever explains it to you. For example, if you're up against a horde of bugs, diving to the ground and staying prone is maybe the worst thing you can do. They'll walk up to you and make you scream everyone's favorite line. Sweet liberty, my arm! But for the bots, it's literally the exact opposite a lot of the time. Here, let me explain.
No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
This is you. This is not a cardboard cutout of someone who is sure to live a long and fulfilling life in the Helldivers. Now, how easy do you think it would be to shoot you right now? I could just stand here and just boom. Very easy. Now, imagine you do a sick democracy dive and don't immediately stand up afterwards. Now how hard would it be to shoot and actually hit you? No. Because from the point of view of whatever's shooting at you, you've just gone from this big to this big. Magic. Yeah, sure, you move slower, but now, in order to block a ragdoll-inducing rocket devastator barrage, oh no, you only have to be behind a rock that's this big, not this big.
Reinforcing! Requesting fortification!
ETA T-minus 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Ready to liberate. Requesting orbital! Sending in an eagle!
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
My life for Super Earth!
Now, how many rocks here do you see that are big enough to do that with? Now, just to be clear, I love this mechanic for the bots. I think that it alone makes the bots genuinely more interesting to fight than the bugs. My issue with it is that it's never explained to the player other than in an obscure off-the-cuff loading screen tip. So if you don't know how that works, of course you're going to have issues with excessive ragdolling on the bots. Now, that's not to say that I don't still think that the ragdolling needs to be tweaked a little bit, but I don't think it's as bad as most people say it is, because it's largely avoidable if you understand what the game never teaches you. Another quick example is suppressive fire. It actually works, guys. You're fighting a heavy devastator mano a mano. If you're in close range, you're dead. But what else would you expect from a point-blank machine gun? But if you're at medium to long range, like you usually will be because heavy devastators are kinda slow, your best chance is not to run around like your head's already been removed. It's to go prone and shoot him. Literally anywhere. Try and aim for the arm or the head so you can kill him, but even if you don't, just shooting at him will make him less accurate, thus extending your lifespan. One of my favorite things to do when playing the bots is to just go hard support and literally provide constant cover fire for my team. Once again, this is never taught to the player beyond a single lighthearted loading screen tip. And playing the bugs won't teach you that. In fact, it teaches you the exact opposite, because both of those strategies are completely useless against the bugs. And there are still more mechanics like this that just aren't ever taught to the player that makes the bots legitimately more difficult if you don't understand them. And if you were around on launch, you might have noticed that a lot of people were afraid to try the bots, myself included, because fighting them with bug tactics was woefully PTSD-inducing. A bot tutorial would neatly fix all of that, because now you can equip uninitiated players with the knowledge they need to understand the fundamental differences in playstyles for fighting the bots compared to the bugs. Like that bot fabricators have health and can be destroyed from any angle at any range, unlike bug holes. Now, I think it might be a little bit on the late side to be making a tutorial for the bots, because there aren't a huge amount of new players to Helldivers these days, at least compared to launch, when tutorials get used the most. Most players have kind of brute forced their way into being marginally successful against the bots by now, and discovered on their own how cover and line of sight works. But like I said before, I still come across players who don't get it. And I always try to explain as best I can when I do, but a tutorial would be so much more effective. Like, I understand that Bug Genocide game is a tried and true hook for gamers, and having that be the default intro for the game is great. But just give me a little menu here that lets me pick which tutorial I want to replay, right? And that even leaves room to grow for whenever the inevitable Illuminate evasion occurs, which I would expect to have an equally different playstyle. So that concludes my first most important entry in my super list to Super Santa. I really, really, really want this. Not because it's cool, flashy, or even for me as a player, because I already mostly get how to fight the bots. I want this for the rest of the players who don't, and don't have 200 hours to puzzle it out. So, on to entry number 2. Second on my list to Super Santa this year is maybe a little confusing at first. Dear Democracy. The bugs! No, not those ones. I'm talking about these ones.
What do you mean?
I'm generally pretty forgiving about bugs. Just someone's gonna take that clip out of context and I'm gonna end up as a cautionary tale in some propaganda message on your local super destroyer. Anyways, there isn't a huge amount to say here other than, please fix. But as long as they don't completely break the game, I'm usually not too fussed about it, and Helldivers gets an additional pass because of how unprepared Arrowhead was for the booming success on release. I'd be willing to wager a modest amount of money that a decent portion of the bugs in this game were due to drastic fluctuations in player numbers. Arrowhead even told us exactly that when the Patriot exosuit got added and there were just too many people who wanted the dang stompy shooty suit. And that's not to say Arrowhead has just completely ignored the bugs. They've actually been really efficient at patching out the highest priority ones, which, by the way, they are pleasantly transparent about that list with every update. But even though Arrowhead got completely overwhelmed for a while there, and have been keeping the game playable till now, it's been 10 months, and there are still a few bugs present that I'm pretty sure were there on launch. Sure, they're low priority ones, like I said before, but at some point, a bug is a bug, and I think killing those is pretty cool. Now, I'm not demanding absolute perfection. I understand that, especially with live service games, you add new stuff, you get new bugs. But in a game where you have animation quality like this, you wouldn't expect a bunch of purple question marks where the game should be. So something I would be incredibly impressed with would be for Arrowhead to say something along the lines of, hey, so now that we've generally fixed the balance issues for the current game, we're going to take a pass and just absolutely clean house. Prepare a massive list of all the bugs and fix them all. I, for one, would genuinely choose an update like this, even if it meant a significant delay before any new content was added. I would maybe go as far as to say I'd wait an extra 6 months for the Illuminates and the major update that probably comes with them. Like, you've got yourself in a pretty stable position right now, Arrowhead, and based on your game's history, adding new stuff is a really easy way to break everything again. So just take a chill pill for a little bit and make sure what you have is polished to a level that reflects the success that you've had. All that said, even if it doesn't take the form of a massive string of bug fix updates, thank you for working to fix the most game-breaking ones and showing that you do understand that there's still an issue. Now, on that lovely positive note, let us move on to the next entry. Hey, remember when I said don't add more new stuff, fix what you have? Nope, me neither. Add more new stuff, please. Well, no, don't do exactly that, because we've all seen what happens when you just casually drop new content. It ends up being imbalanced and the game suffers for it. Even if only temporarily before it gets a balance patch, it suffers all the same. Some notable examples are the initially terribly underwhelming Polar Patriots weapons, which have since been buffed but were kind of a joke on release, or the very cool, but also slightly underwhelming Chemical Agents Warbond. What I mean by, dear democracy, more please, is yes, I'd like new stuff, but not rushed new stuff. Arrowhead has already mentioned a beta testing program to help mitigate balance issues for new weapons and stratagems on release, and the first part of this entry is mostly just a seal of approval for that. But notice that this one comes after my bug fix wish. Yeah, I get that I'm basically asking for the classic, give me more, but better and faster. But like, yes, that's what it is to be a company in this economy. The customer wants you to be perfect. And the company really tries to be perfect because the customer has money. So yeah, I want everything from this game. But I understand that it takes time, and I am more than willing to be patient and have it done right. In terms of the implementation of a beta testing program, I don't really see any reason to have it be separated from the main game. This is the second part of my wish. Why not let your whole player base be the beta testers and just do the casual temporary stealth drops of new weapons that may not be up to snuff balance-wise, and just mark them as experimental under the Ministry of Science? In this case, so as to avoid constant mini-metas for whatever experimental weapon is available at a given time, I would start the weapons sort of underbalanced and bring them up to the right level over time. I think a system like this would fit really well into the base game. I really enjoyed the sort of bi-weekly stealth drops of new stuff in the first few months of Helldivers 2. It was a blast to watch the Ministry of Truth assuage any concerns of flying bugs. And because of how the game works, it'd be optional, so if you just wanted to be a super try-hard schmuck, you could just not take the experimental stuff. But if you were a true democracy-loving Helldiver, you would use it, despite the fact that it might currently suck, in order to provide adequate feedback to the Ministry of Science before a proper release. So basically all of this is just to say, give me more, but gently. There's nothing wrong with the slow and steady. In fact, I think I'd prefer it in most of the cases of game progression in Helldivers. Now, as we approach the final entry in this year's Super Santa Christmas list, I would like to direct you to a very democratic vote that is found underneath this video. This button here, click it if you voted democratically for democracy. As always, it wouldn't be a democracy if there wasn't some options, so there's also this button for anyone who thinks differently. Just remember that I can see how many of you push that one, and I will not hesitate to report my findings to the Ministry of Truth. Oh yeah, Then there's also this one you can click if you like this kind of thing. But moving on. Dear Democracy, can we do some new stuff with the bugs? Like, the bot front has been an actually wild ride so far. We had the Creek, rest in peace, brothers. The whole, oh, we beat the bots, only to have them come back out of nowhere with the Cyberstan incident, and then proceed to take a completely different sector of planets, and then just recently, the Democracy Space Station is over there as well. For the bugs, it feels like we went from here to like here, and then we went back here, and then a little over here, but then Major Orders called us back here, and then back here again, and then all of a sudden, 10 months later, we're liberating Heath again. Just like on launch, except the gloom now exists. And I know there's been a fair share of unique Major Orders and mission types on the bug front, and those have been really fun. It just feels like none of them have ever gone anywhere. And yes, I understand that it's probably by design that the Galactic War has played out how it has so far, because, you know, Joel. And I'm fully expecting some sort of shift on the Terminid front eventually. It's just starting to get a little stale battling back and forth over the same 18 or so planets. I don't really have some clever solution I've come up with that fits the game and is actually maybe realistic. I'm no game designer, so I suppose it's a good thing that that's not how Christmas lists work. I just ask, and then it's up to Super Santa's grace to deliver at that point. So here I am, Super Earth. I'm not quite on my knees yet, but all I want for Christmas is all of this.